The crystal towers of the royal palace shone in the light of 3 moons. Princess Lyra Vexhall stood by the window in her private room. Her skin had a soft purple glow that was common for all people of Veshinar. She had just received the worst news of her life. "Princess, I am sorry," the royal doctor said earlier that day. "The tests are clear. You cannot have children. Your body was changed too much by your family's special breeding to make your mind powers stronger." Lyra touched the smooth skin on her forehead, where the royal marks showed her family line. 6 Curio. Fingers on each hand, another sign of her royal blood, gripped the window edge tightly. "Are you sure? Is there no way?" she had asked. The doctor shook his head. "Not with our medicine. Your body simply cannot grow a baby." For any woman, this would be sad news. For the princess of the Veshinarian Dominion, ruler of 3 star systems, it was a disaster. No heir meant no future for her royal line. Koikira crown would pass to another family branch. Her cousin, General Mira Vexhall, was already hungry for power. This news would give her the perfect reason to take the throne. Lyra walked across her room, her long dress making soft sounds on the floor. She picked up the small crown she wore for official duties. It felt heavy today. A soft knock came at her door. "Enter," Lyra said. Kira, her trusted helper since childhood, stepped into the room and bowed. "Princess, the High Council asks for your presence." Lyra's heart beat faster. News traveled quickly in the palace. "They know already?" Kira looked down. General Mira was seen entering the council chamber an hour ago. She looked happy. Of course she was happy, Lyra thought. Mira had been waiting for any chance to push Lyra aside. Now she had the perfect reason. A ruler who could not provide an heir was seen as broken, incomplete. "I will be there shortly," Lyra said. After Kira left, Lyra changed into her formal clothes. A suit made of material that seemed to hold stars within it. She placed the crown on her head and took a deep breath. The High Council chamber was a huge room with seats for the 12 oldest and wisest people of Veshinar. Their faces were hard to read as Lyra entered. At the side of the room stood her cousin Mira, dressed in her military uniform, a small smile on her lips. "Princess Lyra," said the head of the council, an old woman named Selene. "We have heard troubling news about your health." Lyra stood tall. "My health is perfect. I am strong and fit to rule. But you cannot continue the royal line," said another council member. "This is not just about you, it is about the future of our people." "I can still rule wisely and well," Lyra argued. "Having children is not the only measure of a good ruler." "General," Mira stepped forward. "The people expect their ruler to provide the next ruler. It is our way. It has always been our way." The council members nodded in agreement. "We have reached a decision," Selene said. "You will be sent on a diplomatic mission to the outer worlds. For your safety and health, of course. General Mira will act as ruler until your return." Lyra knew what this meant. They were sending her away, hoping people would forget her. It was exile without calling it exile. "How long will this mission last?" Lyra asked, her voice steady despite her anger. "As long as needed for your recovery," Mira said with false concern. "I see," Lyra said. "And when do I leave?" "Tomorrow," Selene answered. "Your ship, the Starweaver, is being prepared." Lyra nodded once and left the chamber. Her mind was racing. This was not just about her anymore. It was about her people, her right to rule, her future. Back in her room, she began packing what she would need. Kira helped, her movements quick and nervous. "They cannot do this to you," Kira whispered. "You are the rightful ruler." "They can and they have," Lyra said. "Mira has been planning this for years. She has the military behind her." Kira looked around to make sure they were alone, then pulled a small device from her pocket. "Princess, I have information that might help you. There is a planet called Earth. It is far away and the people there are not as advanced as we are in many ways, but they have made great progress in helping women have babies even when it seems impossible." Lyra took the device. On the screen was information about Earth, its location, basic facts about the people there. "How did you get this?" Lyra asked. "I have friends in the science division," Kira said. "I took the liberty of programming the coordinates into the Starweaver's navigation system." Lyra smiled for the first time that day. "You are a true friend, Kira." That night, Lyra stood on her balcony one last time. The 3 moons of Veshnar shone down on the crystal city. She touched her crown and made a promise to the night sky. "I will return to claim what is mine," she whispered. "Not alone, but with my heir." The next morning, Lyra boarded the Starweaver. The ship was small but fast, with the best technology Veshnar had to offer. It could travel between stars in days instead of years. The palace staff lined up to say goodbye, many with tears in their eyes. They loved their princess. General Mira was there too, watching with cold eyes as Lyra walked up the ramp into her ship. "Safe travels, cousin," Mira said. "Take your time out there, no need to hurry back." "I will return sooner than you think," Lyra replied. "Keep my throne warm for me." Inside the ship, Lyra sat in the control room and set the course for Earth. As the Starweaver lifted off, she watched her homeworld grow smaller below her. She felt a mix of sadness and determination. "Earth," she said to herself. "I hope you have the answers I need." The ship's engines glowed bright blue as it broke free of Veshinar's gravity. In a flash of light, it jumped into deep space, carrying the princess toward an unknown world and an uncertain future. The Starweaver moved through space at amazing speed. Inside the ship, Lyra studied everything she could find about Earth. It was a blue planet with lots of water and many different types of people. They had many countries, many languages, and many beliefs. They were not as advanced as her people, but they had made great progress in some areas of medicine. "Computer, how long until we reach Earth?" Lyra asked. 3 more days at current speed," the ship's computer answered. Lyra nodded and continued reading. She learned that Earth people had found ways to help women have babies even when their bodies had problems. They could take eggs from one woman and put them in another. They could mix the seeds of life outside the body and put them back. Some Earth doctors were even working on artificial wombs. "This could be the answer," Lyra whispered to herself. "If their doctors can help me have a child, I can return home and take back my throne." On the 3rd day, the Starweaver approached Earth. Lyra could see the blue planet growing larger on her screen. It was beautiful, with white clouds swirling over blue oceans and green and brown land. "Preparing to enter Earth's atmosphere," the computer said. "Warning, unusual solar activity detected." Lyra frowned. "What kind of activity?" "Solar flare approaching. It may interfere with ship systems." Before Lyra could respond, a wave of energy from the sun hit the ship. Warning lights flashed red across the control panel. The Starweaver shook violently. "Stabilizers failing," the computer reported. "Navigation system compromised. Switch to manual control," Lyra ordered, grabbing the flight controls. The ship began to heat up as it entered Earth's atmosphere too quickly. Outside the windows, the air turned into fire. Lyra fought with the controls, trying to slow the ship down. "Emergency landing procedures initiated," the computer said. "Brace for impact." Lyra could see trees and fields rushing up to meet her. She pulled back on the controls with all her strength, trying to level the ship out. The Starweaver screamed through the air, leaving a trail of smoke and fire. With a deafening crash, the ship hit the ground and slid through a forest, breaking trees like they were twigs. It finally stopped in a small clearing, smoking and damaged. Lyra was thrown from her seat. Her head hit something hard and she felt warm blood on her face. Everything hurt. She tried to stand but fell back down. The ship's computer was silent. Smoke filled the control room. "Help," she whispered, but there was no one to hear. Linda Mason drove her car through the rain. It was late, and she was tired after a long day at the fertility clinic where she worked. As a doctor who helped women have babies, her days were filled with both joy and sadness. Today had been mostly sadness. She had to tell 2 women that they could not have children. It was especially hard because Linda knew how they felt. Years ago, doctors had told her the same thing. Something about her body made it impossible for her to have babies. She had decided to become a doctor to help others like her, to find new ways to create life. The rain hit her windshield hard and she turned the wipers to a faster speed. That's when she saw it. A bright light in the sky, moving much too fast to be an airplane. It left a trail of fire as it fell toward the forest beside the road. A meteor, Linda wondered aloud. The light disappeared behind the trees, and a few seconds later, she heard and felt the impact. The ground shook and a sound like thunder rolled across the hills. Linda pulled her car over to the side of the road. She sat for a moment thinking. Whatever had fallen was not far from her cabin. She had a small house in these woods, where she went on weekends to be alone with her thoughts. She should probably call someone, the police, or maybe scientists who studied meteors. But something made her hesitate. Instead, she turned off the main road and drove toward her cabin. When she reached her property, Linda parked her car and grabbed a flashlight from the glove box. The rain had stopped, but water still dripped from the trees as she made her way through the woods. She followed the path of broken branches left by the falling object. What she found in the clearing took her breath away. It was not a meteor. It was a ship, a spacecraft like nothing she had ever seen before. It was about the size of a small house with smooth lines and a material that seemed to glow softly, even though it was damaged. "Hello?" Linda called out, her voice shaking. "Is anyone there?" The only answer was the soft hiss of escaping steam from the damaged ship. Linda moved closer, her heart pounding in her chest. Part of the ship's side was torn open. She shined her flashlight through the gap. Inside, she saw movement. Someone was in there. Taking a deep breath, Linda climbed through the opening. The air inside the ship smelled strange, like cinnamon and metal. Her flashlight beam showed a small room with seats and screens and blinking lights. And there, on the floor, was a person. Except, it wasn't exactly a person. Not a human person, anyway. The being had the shape of a woman, but her skin was a soft purple color that seemed to glow from within. Her hair was white as snow, and when she turned to look at Linda, her eyes were large and completely black with no whites at all. She had 6 fingers on each hand. Linda gasped and almost ran away. But then she saw the blood, dark blue blood, coming from a cut on the alien woman's head. The creature was hurt, and despite her strange appearance, there was something in her eyes that Linda recognized: fear, pain, and hope. Suddenly, Linda felt something touch her mind. It was like a voice, but not in her ears, in her thoughts. "Help me," the voice said. With it came images: a crystal palace, strange people with purple skin, a feeling of loss and sadness. Then the alien woman's eyes closed, and she slumped to the floor. Linda stood frozen for a moment. This was impossible. Aliens weren't real. This had to be a dream or a hallucination from working too many hours. But the blood on the floor was real. The ship around her was real. And the injured woman, alien or not, needed help. Linda was a doctor. She had taken an oath to help those in need. She knelt beside the alien woman and checked for a pulse. She found it at the neck. Faster than a human pulse, but strong. "I don't know if you can hear me," Linda said, "but I'm going to help you." Getting the alien out of the ship was not easy. She was light, lighter than a human her size would be, but still heavy enough to be a challenge. Linda managed to drag her through the woods to her cabin. The whole time she kept looking over her shoulder, expecting to see someone watching. But the forest was empty and quiet. Inside her cabin, Linda laid the alien on her bed. She cleaned the cut on her head, noticing how the alien's skin felt warm and smooth, almost like silk. The wound wasn't as bad as it had looked. The bleeding had already stopped. What now? She couldn't take an alien to a hospital. They would take her away, do tests on her. No, Linda decided she would keep the alien woman here until she woke up. Then they could figure out what to do next. As if hearing her thoughts, the alien's eyes fluttered open. Those black eyes fixed on Linda's face. The alien woman's hand moved to a small device attached to her wrist. She pressed something, and it lit up. "Thank you for helping me," said a voice from the device. The alien's lips moved, but the words came from the translator. "You're welcome," Linda said, surprised that the alien had technology that could translate English. "My name is Linda. Linda Mason. I'm a doctor, a healer." The alien nodded slowly. "I am Princess Lyra Vexhall of the Veshnarian Dominion." She tried to sit up, but winced in pain. "You should rest," Linda said, gently pushing her back down. "You're hurt." "My ship," Lyra said. "It sent out a distress signal when we crashed. Others will come." "Others? You mean more? People like you?" Lyra's black eyes seemed to look right through Linda. "Yes. But not all of them are friends." 3 weeks passed since the night of the crash. Lyra stayed in Linda's cabin, healing from her injuries and learning about Earth. The alien princess picked up English quickly. Her people had special mind powers that helped her learn new languages, fast. "Your world is strange," Lyra said one morning as she looked out the window at the forest. "So much green, so much life everywhere. On Veshnar, our cities are made of crystal and metal. We have gardens, but nothing like this wild growth." Linda smiled. She was still getting used to the idea that she was sharing her home with a being from another planet. At first she had been afraid, but that fear had turned into wonder and then friendship. "Tell me more about why you came to Earth," Linda said, as she placed a cup of tea in front of Lyra. The alien had developed a taste for the drink, especially with honey. Lyra's face grew sad. "I told you I am a princess. What I didn't tell you is that I was sent away from my home. Exiled. Though they called it a diplomatic mission." "Why would they exile their princess?" Linda asked. "Because I cannot have children," Lyra said simply. "My family line has special mental powers. For many generations, they picked mates very carefully to make these powers stronger. But this breeding program had a cost. It changed something in my body. Our doctors say I cannot bear children." Linda felt a chill. The story was too familiar. "And you need to have children to keep your royal position?" Lyra nodded. "A ruler who cannot provide an heir is not fit to rule, according to our laws. My cousin General Mira used this to push me aside. She now sits on my throne while I am supposedly on a mission far from home." "So you came to Earth looking for help?" "Yes. My friend Kira told me Earth doctors have found ways to help women have babies even when their bodies cannot do it naturally." "Is this true?" Linda stood up and walked to the window. "Yes, it's true. In fact, that's my job. I'm a doctor who specializes in helping women have babies when their bodies can't do it the usual way." She turned back to Lyra. "And I understand how you feel better than you might think. I was told years ago that I can never have children either." Lyra's black eyes widened. "The stars have guided me well, it seems. Of all the places I could have crashed on this planet, I found someone who knows my pain and has the knowledge I seek." Linda sat back down. "I don't know if I can help you, Lyra. Your biology is different from ours. The methods we use for human women might not work for you. But we can try," Lyra said, reaching across the table to take Linda's hand. Her 6 fingers felt warm. "That is all I ask. A chance to try." Linda nodded. "We'll need better equipment than what I have here. My friend Dr. Winters has a private lab in the mountains. She might be willing to help us." Before Lyra could respond, a small device on her wrist began to beep. Her face paled. "They're coming." "Who's coming?" Linda asked, suddenly afraid. "Ships from Veshnar. I can feel them approaching." Lyra closed her eyes, her face tight with concentration. "Not friends. Hunters sent by my cousin. They're here to make sure I never return home." Linda jumped up. "We need to leave. Now." They packed quickly, taking only what they needed. Linda had a small car parked behind the cabin. As they loaded their bags, Lyra suddenly stopped and looked up at the sky. "They're already in orbit," she said. "We don't have much time. They got into the car and Linda drove fast down the forest road. As they reached the main highway, Lyra's device beeped again. "They've found my ship," she said. "They'll track its energy signature to your cabin soon." Linda pressed harder on the gas pedal. "My cabin has a security system. It will alert us if anyone enters. We can monitor it from my phone." They drove for hours, heading into the mountains. The roads became narrower and twisted through tall pine trees. Finally, they turned onto a dirt road that climbed steeply up the mountainside. "Dr. Winters likes her privacy," Linda explained. "Her lab is off the grid. No one knows about it except a few trusted colleagues." At the top of the mountain, they came to a gate with cameras. Linda rolled down her window and pressed a button. On a small panel, "Abby, it's Linda. I need help. It's an emergency." There was a moment of silence, then a woman's voice came from the speaker. "Linda, what's wrong?" "I can't explain over the intercom. Please, I need to come in. I have someone with me." Another pause. "All right, come up." The gate opened and they drove through. Ahead was a building that looked like a modern cabin but much larger. Solar panels covered the roof, and satellite dishes pointed at the sky. An older woman with short, gray hair waited at the door. Her eyes widened when she saw Lyra. "Linda, what have you gotten yourself into?" she asked. "Abby, this is Lyra. She needs our help, and we need a safe place to stay." Dr. Winters looked at Lyra for a long moment, then nodded. "Come inside, quickly." Inside the building was a mix of home and high-tech laboratory. One entire floor was filled with medical equipment and computers. Dr. Winters listened as Linda and Lyra explained everything. "So you're an alien princess who can't have babies, and now there are other aliens hunting you," Dr. Winters said when they finished. "And you want me to help you find a way to have a child using our fertility technology." "I know it sounds crazy," Linda began. "Crazy doesn't begin to cover it," Dr. Winters interrupted. "But I've known you too long to think you're lying or insane." She turned to Lyra. "I'll need to run tests to understand your biology. It will take time." "Time is something we may not have," Lyra said. "The hunters will not give up easily." As if to prove her point, Linda's phone beeped. She looked at the screen and gasped. "Someone just broke into my cabin. The security cameras caught them." She turned the phone so the others could see. On the screen were 3 figures in strange armor, moving through the cabin. They were tall and thin, with helmets that hid their faces. "Shadow Guard," Lyra whispered. "Mira's personal assassins." "Can they track us here?" Dr. Winters asked. "Eventually," Lyra said. "But this mountain might block their sensors for a while." Dr. Winters stood up. "Then we'd better get started. Linda, help me prepare the lab. Princess, I need samples from you. Blood, tissue, anything that will help me understand your reproductive system." For the next few days, they worked nonstop. Dr. Winters studied Lyra's biology while Linda looked for ways to adapt their fertility techniques. Lyra helped as much as she could, explaining how her people's bodies worked. One night, after Dr. Winters had gone to bed, Linda and Lyra sat in the lab looking at test results. "Your genetic structure is fascinating," Linda said. "It's similar to ours in some ways, but very different in others. The problem isn't your eggs. They're healthy. It's your reproductive system. It can't support a pregnancy." "So there's no hope?" Lyra asked quietly. "I didn't say that," Linda replied. "We might be able to use one of your eggs and grow it outside your body." "An artificial womb?" Lyra's eyes lit up. "Your people can do this?" "We're working on it. Dr. Winters has been developing a prototype. It's experimental, not approved for human use yet." Lyra looked thoughtful. "Would it work with my genetics?" "That's what we're trying to figure out." Linda rubbed her tired eyes. "We're missing something, though. Some way to make your DNA compatible with our technology." Lyra's wrist device suddenly lit up. She pressed it, and a small hologram appeared, a woman with purple skin like Lyra's. "Princess," the woman said in a strange language that the device translated. "I am Kira. I hope this message finds you safe." Things have gotten worse at home. General Mara has declared herself acting regent. She's telling people you ran away out of shame. Lyra's hands clenched into fists. I've gathered a small group loyal to you, Kira continued. We can bring supplies, equipment, whatever you need. But be careful. The Shadow Guard is hunting you, led by Commander Vex. He's the best tracker in the Dominion. This message must end. Now for security. Stay safe, my princess. The hologram disappeared. Lyra looked at Linda, her eyes full of mixed emotions. It seems I still have some friends at home, she said. And now we have an even bigger problem. Commander Vex is coming. Who is he? Linda asked. The most dangerous hunter in our military, and he's been sent to make sure I never return to claim my throne. Linda reached out and took Lyra's hand. We'll find a way, Lyra, I promise. Lyra squeezed Linda's hand. On my world, I was always alone, even surrounded by people. I was respected but never really known. She looked into Linda's eyes. Here, with you, I am known. You see me as I am, not just as a princess. Somehow that makes this strange planet feel more like home than Veshnar ever did. Linda felt something warm in her chest. She had been alone too, ever since learning she could never have children. Her work had become her life, but now helping Lyra, she felt a connection she had never expected to find. We should get some rest, Linda said finally. Tomorrow we'll keep working. We'll find an answer. As they left the lab, neither of them noticed the small blinking light on one of Dr. Winter's satellite monitors. Something large had just entered Earth's atmosphere, heading straight for their mountain. I think I found something, Dr. Winters said the next morning. She pointed to a screen showing complex patterns of DNA. Lyra's genetic structure can be modified to work with our artificial womb technology, but we need materials not available on Earth. Lyra studied the screen. What kinds of materials? Compounds that can stabilize your genetic code and help it interact with our technology, Dr. Winters explained. Without them, any embryo we create would fail within days. Linda looked at Lyra. Your friend Kira said she could bring supplies. Could she get what we need? Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, but it's risky. Any ship coming from Veshnar might be detected by the Shadow Guard. It's a risk we have to take, Linda said. Can you contact her? Before Lyra could answer, an alarm sounded throughout the lab. Dr. Winters rushed to a control panel and pressed several buttons. A wall of screens lit up, showing different views of the mountain and the sky above. Something just entered the atmosphere, she said. Multiple objects, heading this way. On one screen, they could see bright streaks of light cutting through the morning sky. They were too straight, too controlled to be meteors. Ships, Lyra said, her voice tight, but I can't tell if they're friends or enemies yet. She closed her eyes, concentrating. Her face relaxed slightly. Some are friends. I can sense Kira. But there are others. Darker minds. The Shadow Guard has found us. Dr. Winters hit more buttons. Metal shutters began to close over the windows. This place has defenses. I've had to protect my research from corporate spies before. Never thought I'd be using them against aliens. Linda went to a cabinet and began pulling out equipment. We need to work fast. If Kira is bringing supplies, we should be ready to use them as soon as they arrive. Lyra's wrist device lit up again. This time, a small map appeared, showing the mountain and several moving dots approaching from different directions. 5 ships, Lyra said. 2 are loyal to me. The others are Shadow Guard. How long do we have? Dr. Winters asked. Minutes, Lyra replied. They're coming in fast. Linda looked at the artificial womb device Dr. Winters had been developing. It was about the size of a small backpack, with tubes and monitors attached. Is it ready? As ready as it can be without the materials we need, Dr. Winters said. But even with those materials, we'd need weeks of testing before trying to grow an actual embryo. We don't have weeks, Lyra said. Her eyes were fixed on the screens showing the approaching ships. One of the dots on her map suddenly blinked. Out! No! Lyra cried. They shot down one of my loyal ships. Another alarm sounded. A security camera showed a small spacecraft landing in the clearing behind the lab. The door opened, and a woman with purple skin like Lyra's ran out carrying a metal case. Behind her, energy beams cut through the trees. "Kira," Lyra whispered. She rushed to a door at the back of the lab. "She'll never make it inside in time." Linda grabbed her arm. "You can't go out there, they'll kill you both." Lyra hesitated, torn between safety and loyalty. Then the decision was made for them as the door burst open. Kira stumbled in, her white hair singed, carrying the metal case. Dr. Winters slammed the door shut behind her and activated the locks. "Princess," Kira gasped, dropping to one knee despite her obvious pain. "I brought what you asked for. The medical supplies from the Royal Laboratories." Lyra helped her friend to a chair. "You're hurt." "It's nothing," Kira insisted. "Commander Vex is here. He shot down Navan's ship. I barely escaped." Dr. Winters took the case and opened it. Inside were vials of strange liquids, devices she had never seen before, and data crystals. "What is all this?" "Everything our scientists know about reproduction and genetics," Kira said. "And something more." She pulled a small vial of glowing blue liquid from a hidden compartment in the case. "This is from the sacred pools of Veshinar. It has special properties that help with genetic bonding." Linda took the vial carefully. "This could be what we need." The building shook as something hit it from outside. On the screens they could see armored figures moving through the trees toward the lab. "We're out of time," Dr. Winters said. "We need to get to the lower levels. They're more protected." They grabbed the case and the artificial womb device and hurried down a staircase, hidden behind a bookshelf. The lower level was smaller but had even more advanced equipment. Thick walls surrounded them and there were no windows. "We should be safe here for a while," Dr. Winters said, "but they'll find a way in eventually." Another explosion rocked the building. Dust fell from the ceiling. "They're using plasma cutters," Kira said. "They'll be through the outer defenses soon." Linda looked at Lyra. "We have to make a decision now. Do we try to create an embryo with what we have, or do we run?" Lyra's black eyes met Linda's. "If we run, they'll keep hunting us. This might be our only chance." Linda nodded. "Then let's do it." They worked quickly, combining their knowledge and the new materials from Veshinar. Dr. Winters programmed the artificial womb, while Linda prepared the genetic materials. Lyra and Kira stood guard, watching the security screens. "The upper level has been breached," Kira reported. "They're searching the lab now." "Almost ready," Dr. Winters said. "But there's a problem. The artificial womb needs to bond with a living host for the first few weeks. It needs biological signals from a real body to work properly." "I'll do it," Lyra said immediately. Linda shook her head. "It won't work. Your biology is what we're trying to fix, remember? It needs to be a human host." They all looked at each other. The silence was broken by another explosion, closer this time. "I'll do it," Linda said finally. "I'll be the host." Lyra's eyes widened. "Linda, no. It's too dangerous. We don't know what might happen." "It's our only chance," Linda insisted. "My body can support the womb while the embryo develops. Then we can transfer it to the fully artificial system when it's stable." Dr. Winters looked grim. "It could work, but the risks to you are significant, Linda." "I know the risks," Linda said. "I've spent my career helping women have children they thought were impossible. Now it's my turn to take a chance." Another explosion, even closer. The lights flickered. "They're almost here," Kira said. "Do it," Lyra said to Dr. Winters. "Please." Dr. Winters nodded. She prepared the modified artificial womb and helped Linda onto an examination table. The procedure was quick but intense. The small device was attached to Linda's abdomen, with microscopic connections to her bloodstream. "It's done," Dr. Winters said finally. "The artificial womb is connected. We'll know in a few hours if it's working properly." Linda sat up slowly, feeling strange. There was a slight warmth where the device was attached, but no pain. "I feel okay," she said. "A little dizzy, but..." She was interrupted by the sound of metal being torn apart. The door to the lower level began to glow red as something cut through it from the other side. "They've found us," Kira said, drawing a small weapon. The door burst, open in a shower of sparks. Standing there was a tall figure in black armor. His helmet retracted, showing a face with purple skin and black eyes much like Lyra's, but harder, colder. "Princess Lyra," he said in a voice that needed no translation. "Your exile ends today." "Commander Vex," Lyra replied, standing tall despite her fear. "I see my cousin still sends others to do her dirty work." Vex stepped into the room, followed by 4 more armored soldiers. "General Mira sends her regrets that she could not be here to witness your end. She is busy ruling our people, as you failed to do." "I never failed them," Lyra said. "I was pushed aside because of a condition I did not choose." Vex's eyes scanned the room, taking in the strange equipment and the 3 women. His gaze lingered on Linda and the device attached to her body. "What have you done?" he asked, his voice suddenly uncertain. Lyra moved to stand in front of Linda. "Something you and Mira thought impossible. I have found a way to continue my line. To have an heir." Vex raised his weapon. "It doesn't matter. My orders are clear. No heir of yours will ever sit on the throne of Veshinar." He aimed at Lyra, but before he could fire, Kira threw herself at him. They tumbled to the floor, struggling. The other soldiers raised their weapons but hesitated, afraid of hitting their commander. Linda felt Lyra's hand grab hers. "Whatever happens," Lyra whispered, "know that you have given me something precious. Hope." The room descended into chaos. As Kira and Vex fought, the other soldiers moved forward, and Dr. Winters hit a button that plunged the room into darkness. Emergency lights came on, bathing everything in red light. In that moment, Linda realized something extraordinary. The device on her abdomen was glowing softly with a blue light, visible even through her shirt. And she could feel something new, a strange awareness of another presence, as if she were not alone in her body anymore. The experiment had worked. Faster than anyone could have predicted, Lyra's modified genetic material had begun to develop within the artificial womb. Linda was carrying the beginning of a new life, the heir to the throne of Veshinar. And somehow, Commander Vex knew it, too. His scanner had detected the changes in Linda's body. That's why he had hesitated. The question now was whether any of them would survive long enough for that life to grow. The mountain lab had become a battlefield. Commander Vex and his shadow guard fought against Kira and the loyal Veshinarians who had arrived to help their princess. Energy weapons fired, lighting up the dark rooms with flashes of blue and purple. The sound of battle echoed through the building. In the chaos, Linda, Lyra, and Dr. Winters hid behind heavy equipment. Linda clutched her stomach, feeling the warm pulse of the artificial womb attached to her body. Inside it was a tiny spark of life, Lyra's child, growing with the help of human technology and alien science. "We need to get you out of here," Lyra whispered to Linda. "That child is the future of my people, and you are now the most important person in 2 worlds." Linda shook her head. "I'm not leaving without both of you." A loud explosion rocked the lab. Part of the ceiling collapsed, blocking one of the exits. "Kira can't hold them off much longer," Lyra said. "We need a plan." Dr. Winters pointed to a small door at the back of the room. "There's a tunnel that leads to a garage on the other side of the mountain. I keep an emergency vehicle there." Another explosion, closer this time. Commander Vex's voice boomed through the smoke. "Princess Lyra, surrender now and I may spare the others. Continue to resist and everyone will die." Lyra stood up slowly. "I have to face him. It's me he wants." "No." Linda grabbed her arm. "That's exactly what he wants you to think, but it's not just about you anymore. It's about the child." Lyra hesitated, torn between her royal training to face threats head-on and her new responsibility, to protect her unborn heir. Dr. Winters made the decision for them. She grabbed a small device from a nearby table and pressed a button. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the lab and sprinklers activated, spraying water everywhere. "Go!" Dr. Winters shouted. "I'll hold them off and meet you at the garage." Linda and Lyra slipped through the small door while Dr. Winters created a distraction. The tunnel was narrow and dark, lit only by emergency lights that glowed red along the floor. "Will she be okay?" Linda asked as they hurried through the tunnel. "Doctor, Winters is very brave," Lyra said. "I have met few humans, but those I have met show remarkable courage." They reached the end of the tunnel and found themselves in a small garage carved into the side of the mountain. Inside was a large all-terrain vehicle with thick tires and armor plating. "Abby always was paranoid," Linda said with a small smile as she climbed into the driver's seat. "Good thing, too." Lyra got in beside her. Linda started the engine and pressed a button that opened the garage door. Outside, the forest was quiet in the early morning light. Too quiet. "It's a trap," Lyra said suddenly. "Vex is waiting for us." If summoned by her words, Commander Vex stepped out from behind a tree, his weapon aimed at the vehicle. "Did you really think it would be that easy, Princess?" he called. Linda gripped the steering wheel tightly. "What do we do?" Before Lyra could answer, energy beams cut through the air above Vex's head. He dove for cover as Kira and two other loyal Veshnarians emerged from the trees, firing at him. "Go!" Kira shouted. "We'll cover you!" Linda didn't need to be told twice. She floored the accelerator and the vehicle shot forward, bouncing over the rough ground. In the rearview mirror, she could see the fight continuing behind them. "Head for the Starweaver," Lyra said. "Kira told me they found my ship and repaired it. It's in a clearing about 10 miles from here. They drove as fast as the terrain would allow." Linda's mind raced with questions about what would happen next. The device on her abdomen continued to pulse warmly, a constant reminder of the incredible thing happening inside her. "If we get to your ship, what then?" she asked. "You go back to your world to claim your throne?" Lyra looked at her with those deep black eyes. "Yes, but not alone." She reached out and gently touched Linda's stomach. "And not without you, if you're willing to come." Linda's breath caught in her throat. Leave Earth? Go to another planet? It seemed impossible. And yet what was left for her here? A lonely life, a career helping others have the children she could never have herself. And now, strangely, she was carrying a child. Not her own genetically, but still a life growing within her, depending on her. "I'd have to think about it," Linda said finally. Lyra nodded. "Of course, it is a big decision, but know that you would be honored on my world. The woman who saved the royal line would never want for anything." They drove in silence for a while. Linda's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of engines overhead. Looking up, she saw a Veshnarian ship following them. "Is it Kira?" she asked. Hopefully Lyra's face was grim. "No, it's Vex. He's tracked us." The ship fired, the energy beam hitting the ground just ahead of them. Linda swerved hard, nearly tipping the vehicle. "He's not trying to hit us," Lyra said. "He wants us to stop." "Well, he's going to be disappointed," Linda replied, pressing harder on the accelerator. The forest thinned out, and ahead they could see a clearing. In the center was the Starweaver, looking mostly repaired despite the damage from its crash landing. "We're almost there," Lyra said. But Vex's ship swooped down, blocking their path. It landed directly in front of the Starweaver, and the door opened. Commander Vex stepped out, followed by several Shadow Guard soldiers. Linda stopped the vehicle. They were trapped. "Now what?" she asked. "I have to face him," Lyra said. "There's no other way." "You can't. He'll kill you." Lyra smiled sadly. "Perhaps, but he doesn't know everything." She touched Linda's stomach again. "The future of Veshnar is here, safe with you. If I die, Kira will help you raise the child. When the time is right, my heir will return to claim the throne." Before Linda could stop her, Lyra opened the door and stepped out of the vehicle. She walked forward, her head held high like the princess she was, to face Commander Vex. Linda couldn't hear what they said to each other, but she could see Vex raise his weapon. Her heart pounded in her chest. She couldn't just sit there and watch Lyra die. Then something unexpected happened. Vex lowered his weapon and turned to scan Linda with a small device. His face showed shock. He said something to Lyra, who nodded. The Other Shadow Guard soldiers gathered around, looking at the scanner's readings. Some of them removed their helmets, revealing faces with various expressions of surprise and confusion. After what seemed like forever, Vex and Lyra walked back to Linda's vehicle together. "Linda," Lyra said, her voice trembling with excitement, "something amazing has happened. Commander Vex's scanners have confirmed that the child is growing. The artificial womb is working." Vex looked at Linda with a mix of suspicion and reluctant respect. "This changes everything," he said. His translation device made his voice sound flat, but Linda could sense the conflict within him. If the princess has truly found a way to produce an heir, then the law is clear. She cannot be removed from the line of succession. "What about General Mira?" Linda asked. "Won't she just try to kill Lyra and the child anyway?" Vex straightened his back. "I serve the Dominion, not General Mira. My duty is to uphold our laws. If Princess Lyra has a viable heir, my troops will protect her right to the throne." "You would defy Mira?" Lyra asked, clearly surprised. "I would uphold the law," Vex replied firmly. "And I am not alone. Many in the military are uncomfortable with how you were treated, Princess. They followed orders, but their loyalty to the throne remains strong." As they spoke, more ships appeared in the sky. Linda tensed, but Lyra smiled. "Kira," she said. "And it looks like she's brought friends." The ships landed in the clearing. Kira emerged from one, followed by Dr. Winters, looking tired but unhurt. From the others came more Veshinarians, some in military uniforms, others in civilian clothes. "The Royal Guard," Lyra explained. "They've come to take us home." 6 months later, Linda sat in a comfortable chair aboard the diplomatic vessel Starblade, orbiting Earth. The room was filled with strange and beautiful flowers from Veshinar, gifts from well-wishers across the Dominion. The artificial womb had been removed weeks ago, its job complete. Now Linda held in her arms a baby girl with skin that shimmered with the faintest purple glow, and eyes that were black like Lyra's but shaped like Linda's. The child had 5 fingers on each hand, a blend of human and Veshinarian traits. Lyra entered the room wearing her full royal regalia. The crown on her head caught the light from Earth visible through the large window. "How are our girls doing?" Lyra asked, sitting beside Linda. "We're fine," Linda replied. "Ilara just ate and now she's falling asleep." The name had been Linda's suggestion, Ilara after one of Jupiter's moons, a name that belonged to both Earth and space. "The High Council has made its decision," Lyra said. "My exile has officially ended. We've been called back to Veshinar for my formal reinstatement as ruler." Linda nodded. She had known this day would come. "And Mara?" "Under house arrest. Many of her supporters abandoned her when news of Ilara spread throughout the Dominion. The people are calling it a miracle, the perfect blend of Veshinarian royal blood and human innovation." Linda looked down at the sleeping baby. Ilara was exactly that, a miracle of 2 worlds coming together. She represented hope, not just for Lyra's royal line, but for both their species. "I have to ask you something important," Lyra said, her voice growing serious. "Will you come with us to Veshinar? I know it's a lot to ask. You would be leaving your world behind."